to Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. Each show is filled with news, reviews, interviews, and expert advice from the industry. All for you, the author. And now, here's our host, H.D. Campbell.
Hi, welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. As always, I'm your host, H.D. Campbell. Welcome to our new season. We have so many changes and so many things I want to talk about. But first, I want to talk about one of the most biggest things we have going on. First thing we have is I've taken on a new role. I'm now the co-CEO of a new publishing company called Creative Inspirations. Creative Inspirations Publishing will be a new publisher. We're looking for submissions. I will give you contact info on the next show about that. Next, this season, we're going to go to so many other places. I moved just recently, and through there, we're going to go to a lot of places. We'll be at Forest Park. We'll be in the University. We'll be into a lot of places, a lot of events this season. And I'll be going on location, doing more specials, doing a lot more different things, talking to a lot more different people. But we'll get into a lot of the show locations, a lot of different shows here later throughout the season. First, I want to go into our guests. Our first guest is going to be LaDrama Princess herself. We'll be talking about her brand of erotica, her good website, her books, which I've already ordered, by the way. It's just going to be a great interview. You're going to love it. My next interview is going to be with a follow-up with our good friend Billy Dorsey. You remember him. He's a Grammy-winning producer, artist who have gone from everywhere from 2 Chainz to the Grammy-winning Lecrae. So we'll be talking to him much later. But first, we'll have a talk with Miss LaDrama Princess. Stay tuned.
Have you experienced the Bruce Williams series of books, How to Lose a Black Woman and Geraldine? Experience Bruce Williams' journey, true love, and possible missteps along the way through his eyes, his poetry, and prayers. Then, meet Geraldine, whose own search for love makes some quite interesting and possibly dangerous turns. When she gets involved in a love triangle, she must find out within herself whom she wants to be with and whom she needs to be with. With special appearances by Bruce Williams, Geraldine and her friends help you experience her journey. Try How to Lose a Black Woman and Geraldine at your local bookstore, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or on your Nook and Kindle tablet. From the romantic mind of Shonell comes her debut masterpiece, Let Me Love You Down. Follow the story of Jessica Watkins, a 22-year-old first-time high school teacher. She meets 17-year-old Kyle Rogers, a smooth-talking but soft-spoken senior. A near tragedy brings Kyle and Jessica together as the best of friends and confidants. Eventually, the two fall in love, but with Jessica being Kyle's teacher brings major complications. Read Jessica Watkins' story in Let Me Love You Down, exclusively at Amazon and coming soon to Nook and your favorite bookstore.
Welcome back. My first interview is with Miss LaDrama Princess. I got a chance to be on her show, the Bonafide Literary Show, which you'll learn more about in the interview. It was a great read, and I really love talking to like-minded authors. She has great views of the industry, and much like friends like Keisha Green, have a lot of big wisdom in the industry. So without further ado, here's the interview.
It took me, what's 13 minus 9? It took me 4 years to put out my first book. And it was just because I had some little minor issues of, I wouldn't say I was scared to put it out, but I had some issues with people trying to copy my style, so I held back a little bit. And do I regret it? Kinda, yeah, because when I talk to people now that, on social media, they tell me how the whole industry has seemed to change within the past 2 years at least, where it's, you have a lot of people putting out a lot of low quality books, and then in turn, even if your stuff is good, it's going to get you kind of swamped into that mix because everybody will think, well, this is another piece of crap, and So I think if I would have put it out back in 2009, it would have been better to, I wouldn't say it would have made it easier for me to, get a following and everything like that, but it might have helped a little bit because it's just really, really hard now. It's already been hard. I was in that way for writers to get a leg up, get their footing with everything. And it's even harder now because everybody's putting out a book. It's even more easily available, to self-publish a book. So, yeah, that's one thing I do regret about it. If I had done it maybe 4 years ago, then had like a couple of years to build up my fan base, it would have helped a little better. But, the time is when the time it happens. So, nothing I can do about that now.
I personally feel you made the right decision because you're getting a lot of success with your book. So I pretty much so I agree with you.
Okay.
So, the name of your first book is Submit to the Dark Side, Stories to Explain the Stains. Basically, what makes a book about erotica the dark side?
I didn't go with the title of the book. I was stumped. That's one thing that very hard for me is titling books or stories, sometimes even chapters. So, someone in the name, they were like, what is the book about? So I said, it has some BDSM in there, but it's not anything physical, so there's not any restraining or whipping or anything. I don't think it is. I can't remember. Anything like that. But it's mental. So to me, the whole mental aspect of BDSM, is much more important than the physical anyway, to get somebody's mind into doing it. And as far as the dark side, as well, like every story in that book, Submit to the Dark Side, Story to Explain the Same, every one of the main characters in each story has to succumb to what they always said that they wouldn't do, or, they get into a situation they never thought they would ever be into, and with this other person or other people. And so it's kind of like you submit yourself to the other side, the dark side of, the things you never thought you would ever do, but you end up liking it. So now you're on this other side, you want to stay over there.
Well, staying on that course, what is the most dark story within the book?
The darkest, I would probably say the first story, which is part one, or the first part of a upcoming book called Trouble Keeps Bringing Me Back Again. And that's because it has suspense, and there's a couple of things that happen to the main female character in the book, Tara, that, would definitely feed into, the whole darkness of everything when you're in a relationship with somebody. The control, domination, fear, because she's doing something behind her husband's back and she doesn't want her to get out with one of her exes. And it's a little bit of a twist of this ex and her husband as well. So her husband and her ex have a connection, and it's really making things very difficult for her. So you see a whole dark side of this person, and like I said, it's suspense, and it's going to build up to everything. So, and then the second darkest story I would say would be May Lee, when you talk about May Lee, because it's a female lead, but she is very unique in that in her mindset when dealing with men, it's particularly this one man in her life, one of her exes, and she lives in a small town, and she has a reputation, but she takes control of this reputation that everybody's out here talking about her and what she's been doing in her personal life. So I would say that's one of the darkest stories, because when you talk about Haley, they don't expect for these things to happen towards the end of the book. And I've had some people very pissed off at me about that, because they're like, I didn't expect that, and why would you put that there? And, to me, that's showing what can really happen, if you talk about people like that and what they do in their bedroom. Okay, the story in Submit to the Dark Side that readers are most surprised by would be Shonell Treasure, A Christmas Vixen. And that story was read in a book club group one night, and it had to be read like 2 or 3 times because they just couldn't believe what was happening in this story. And they were much surprised. It's a Christmas story. but it's not the typical Christmas story. So that was the most surprising thing for most people. They just couldn't believe that this was happening and that I wrote this. And a lot of people said that they became a fan of me when they read, you know, not only that story, but all the stories put together, that they were so pleased that I came up with something that was like off the beaten path and wasn't the normal thing. You know, you have like some of the normal characters, normal situations, but I put some twists in there. So it kind of like shocks people. They're thinking that we're about to read one thing and then it totally just flips.
Okay.
So Shonell Treasure.
Okay. Now, all the stories in your book are considered number ones for each story. So, which ones, you know, for other upcoming books? So, which stories are they, and when are those books coming out?
Okay, there are two-part one to different books in the book submitted to the Dark Side. And those stories are Trouble. Those upcoming books are Trouble Keeps Bringing Me Back Again. And the other one is Swing and Submission, Deceit and Betrayal with a multiple partner twist. Swing and Submission is already out. It came out May 2014. And Trouble Keeps Bringing Me Back Again. I don't know when it's coming out. I started working on the rest of the book last summer, and I haven't touched it since.
Shame on you.
It comes to me, so I can't just sit down and, you know, that's like a cardinal rule. They say that's making up an excuse when you're a writer and say you have to, when you get writer's block. It's not necessarily writer's block. It's just when the mood hits me or I feel like it's a good twist so I can add it there. I'm just feeling the story. Then I want to be able to sit down and just let it all flow. You know, within those few weeks' time, but if I have to push, I'm going to leave it alone. So that's me, and Trouble Keeps Bringing Me Back again. But it'll be coming eventually. It's on my list.
Okay, okay. So, what are the names of some of your other books, and what are they about?
I have three books out. The first one is like to submit to the dark side, and there's Swing and Submission, and my other book is You Ain't the One. And You Ain't the One, it's about a girl who's in a relationship with a woman, and things are not going the way she would like it to go. So usually when people are in those situations, they don't break up with the person they're with for whatever reasons they may come up with. So she's still with this girl, but she tries other things and other people, and the main character's name is Tania, and she is very much a sexual cat.
Uh-oh.
And a lot of women have read that story and they've told me that they wish they could be more like Tania because of her attitude. She has a very, I would say, lackadaisical attitude or laissez-faire about life because, I don't know, maybe it's because she thinks she knows she can get away with it. I wrote this character, Tania, based on one of my best friend's ex-girlfriend, and she was the same way. And from what I perceive her to be. And so that's where Tania comes from. But it's about this woman who's in a relationship. She's not happy, so she's doing other things. She ends up meeting some people. And there's a lot of sexual stuff that goes on. But she's the pretty girl with the long hair, but I don't make her into an angel.
Okay. All right. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, speaking of, you wouldn't call her an angel or anything, who would you recommend Swinging Submissions to?
Who would I recommend Swinging Submission to?
Besides me, of course.
Do what?
Besides me, of course. Because I'm about to order it, but I'm just letting you know that's something different. Go ahead.
I would actually recommend Swinging Submission to couples. And there's been women who, once again, women reading my books. Women have read Swinging Submission and they were delighted or intrigued by some things they saw in the book, and they decided they wanted to try them with their partner or their husband. So I would definitely recommend it to couples. You don't necessarily have to already be swingers, but you know, if you're looking for something to spice up your life, I heard this book now to help you get there.
Right, right. You know, and knowing you for the short time I did, you bring your very own brand of erotica to the mix, which is very different and very unique, which is great to the market. How would you describe your brand of erotica?
I would say that my erotica is very intense, and intense in the fact of I break everything down in a scene. So when it comes to the sex scenes of it, I'm going to make it look like what they tell me. I make it look like a movie that is actually happening in front of you. And so I'm not cutting any corners. You're going to get exactly. If I say this is some hot erotica, it's really hot erotica. You can read the story out loud or read it by yourself. I've heard people having to go and buy sex toys after they've gotten done reading or in the middle of reading it, or they've written down some of the stuff from the scenes and decided they were going to try it, act it out. So that would be my brand of erotica. And then as far as the story of the books as well, I use my real life people that I already know, and I just kind of mix those up. But I think everybody kind of does that. At least they say they do now. But I just have this way of making everything very realistic with my stories, even though it is erotica. I write a story, you know, based on what my greats and my inspirations would do. And so I don't hold back in a story just because it is erotica. I don't do things, I don't write a story just because I feel like, you know, it's 10 other stories out there. So I feel like you will read this one because it's just like the other one. I wanted to write something that's going to make you feel like I've never read anything like this before. This is something totally new. I got to have more of these. So that would be my brand that I feel like I bring to y'all.
All right. Okay. Has anyone ever told you they've used your books when they've been with their partner?
Yes, like I said before, there's been plenty of people say that they use it. It's kind of a guidebook on what they want to try next or what to do next. And I have one review on my website, LaDramaPrincess.com. If you go to the bookstore page, you will be able to try to navigate through and try to, you know, work on that a little bit. But they are good. And this one lady said that she read a couple of my books before, and she said she thought that she was doing a good job sexually with her husband, giving him good sex. But after she's read some of the stuff in my book, that she knows she needs to step it up because there are some people out here doing way more than what she's doing. And there was another lady, she wrote a very long review saying that, you know, the different things she was going to try. There's a scene in the first part of Swinging Submission that if you go on Amazon, you will see the sample. And it's going to be a part of the sample, towards the end of the sample on Amazon. And it tells, and it's a scene in the kitchen. And she said this scene was like, she said, I just have to try this. I had never thought of doing it this way before. And it was a type of sex that she had, she's known about it, but she never thought about approaching it in this way. So I get that quite often. People tell me, you know, it's opening up their eyes to a lot of stuff.
All right, interview over. I'm about to go over to Amazon, so I'm just going to say, I'll see you now. I'm just kidding. All right, my next question, before I get too far ahead. What gets you in the mood to write?
What gets me in the mood to write?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, I have to be inspired. I just get this wave over my whole body, and sometimes it just clicks, and I just have one thing sometimes it just, oh, I just got to write. I know what's going to happen now. I might have a fresh story that might come to me. That's what happened with You Ain't the One last year in October. It was getting out of the shower, and it just clicked, and I was like, I have another story. And I was just writing. But I know for my sex scenes, what gets me in the mood for that would be pornography. And that's what inspires me for sex scenes. I have the ability, now I don't know if everybody can do it, but I have the ability that when I'm watching it, and that's why I'm so very particular about what I watch as far as adult entertainment, that it has to be very organic. So it can't be something, you know, where they're playing a role, they're being still, they're saying the oohs and the ahs at the perfect time, because I like to just go through my bookmarks. I have a long, and I go through my bookmarks and I type in what particular type of scene that I want to use. And I usually bookmark scenes that are not of the norm as well. So when I go in, I can pull it up, and they might be using a different type of toy, a specific special toy, or they might be using it in a unique way, or the woman might be deeply into the sex. And usually you can tell when you look at the woman how good the sex is, because if she's, you know, like she's about to have a seizure, or everything is just tight and she's just in the moment, then that's what I'm going to use. So if I feel like she's turned on, then it's going to affect me, and then I'm going to be able to put it into my writing, because writing is very emotional to me. I put all of my emotions into my writing, and that might have something to do with the reason why I have not necessarily writer's block, but you know, I have to have a really free mind. But that's what gets me in the mood sometimes. Sometimes music can inspire me. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a song by Eric Roberson, and it wasn't my first time hearing it. I think it was the song "Can't Hear Me Over the Music," and it was a live version that I had never heard before. And when I heard it, he said that when they do it live, you know, they can ad lib some stuff. And he had this ad lib line in there, and it was like, it just said something out to me. It was like, ooh, I saw a part of a scene, which I didn't put in the book. It's actually on my blog. And if you go to my blog, freakywithme.wordpress.com, which I will be changing to a domain name soon, so it'll just be a full.com soon. Well, if you go to Freaky with Me, LaDrama Princess, you will see on there, inspired by the music. There's a category on the side, and you will be able to click through and find this particular one I'm talking about. So I was able to write, what people say is a poem. I don't call myself a poet at all. I don't want to claim that. But people tell me my writing in my books, period, is poetic. So I was able to come up with that. So sometimes it could be porn, it could be music, or it could just be something that just comes to mind. So yeah, that was the short answer.
Okay, no. You were fine. You were just fine. Speaking of your blog, Freaky With Me, LaDrama Princess, you give a lot of sex advice. How did you start doing that? And where can I find it? No, go ahead.
I started doing the sex advice on the blog because, oh my God, all throughout my life for a long time, I'm not even 40 yet. Not gonna put my real age out there, but I've always had people coming to me crying on my shoulder or leaning on my shoulder with their problems. So I would always be in a position to give people advice. And sometimes sex will come up, or, you know, I would have discussions with people, and when we get on the topic of sex, they would tell me, oh, you know a lot about it, or you have really rich sex life. Now, sometimes they can go pretty left. But, you know, a lot of times I give people advice on what to do, or they might ask me for advice or anything in life, period. And then I'm able to, you know, help them out. So constantly, it never stops for me. I don't know what it is, but people feel like they should ask me questions. So I decided I would just, you know, turn it to the web and see if I could help some people out there who might be going through some things, and they could just write me. And it's with me and my partner. He's my partner in my personal life, and he also is a partner in my business, which is the B&B Publishing, that we put out all my books. But we give advice on the blog. I'm on hiatus right now, so I won't start back until probably the beginning of 2015. I'll start back giving advice. But on the blog, it's purely sex advice.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask a serious question, because I know it's going to kind of make you mad. Because, I mean, any type of this makes anybody mad, no matter what the genre is. But has anybody ever told you do too much as far as what you put into your blog and put in your books?
Oh my God, yes, I have. One incident in the spring of 2014, this year, where someone asked me, did I want to cross-promote with them? And she asked me, she told me we could put it on each other's blogs, and I was like, cool. And I said, well, have you been on my blog? Because I just want to forewarn you, you know, it might be a little different from yours. And I know there's worse blogs than mine as far as, you know, having explicit content. And she told me when she got to my blog, oh my God, this site is basically just porn.
What?
Yeah, because I do pictures in my posts, and I know that's what people like to see. They'll look at the pictures first, and then they'll come back and read later. You know,
exactly.
And she told me that, and from time to time I will get that about my books, and people will say, well, your books are no more than porn, I don't know how you can call it erotica, because if it was erotica, you wouldn't be getting as explicit. And, you know, there's a constant debate on whether, you know, what's the difference between romance, erotica, and porn. And I've been told it's all the same thing. It's just basically in the romance, you're really going to have them have a happily ever after or not, but they're still going to be having sex. It can get pretty raunchy in romance, which I don't tend to read it. And in some romance, it doesn't get raunchy at all. But those are some things that happen. Every now and again, somebody will come around and say, "You're just doing nothing but porn. This is not even art. This is just a waste."
Lord. So what do you write? Since you're so righteous, what do you write? Murder? What do you write? Killing? I'm serious. It doesn't matter. Basically, what you write is what you write, and if it's a good story, it's a good story. So
well, exactly. But like I said, this is usually coming from other people who write erotica. Then they'll tell me that mine is not erotica.
Hypocrite Nation. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just saying, Hypocrite Nation, big time. So, has anyone personally tried to censor you? Has anyone personally tried to censor you? Has anyone?
Okay. Has anyone personally tried to censor me?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I'm a pretty assertive person, and usually most people, they don't do things like that to me. If they tried, I didn't know it, because I'm just not going to let you censor me.
Right.
I do what I want.
And nobody came to you and said, "Ooh, LaDrama Prince is so nasty." She sounded sad.
As far as like collaborations, trying to get my work on someone else's site. Well, matter of fact, talking about sites. Yes, in that regard, on different websites, they have tried to censor me. On Amazon, usually people tell me, "I tried to find you on Amazon, I can't find your book." If they type in LaDrama Princess, or they might type in the title of Submit to the Dark Side, constantly stays blocked on Amazon. They put me into what they call the adult dungeon, because they say my work is too explicit. So I'm constantly censored on Amazon. Barnes & Noble, they say they're not censoring me, but I don't know what the deal is. They said I didn't put in my information right to when I uploaded my books. I don't know. But Amazon constantly censors me. Google Play Books censors me as well. Submit to the Dark Side has been taken down on Google Play. And they say, well, if you change the cover, if you change the description, I said I'm not going to change anything. I do expect that to always happen to me, and I don't really feel like I should have to censor my books. If you don't want certain books on your site, then I feel like you shouldn't be opening yourself up to erotica. So that's why I have my own website, so they will always be there.
Okay.
On my blog.
Okay. You know, I'm not gonna name any names, but some bigger erotica people aren't thrown into the dungeon. Not gonna name any names. Not gonna name any 4-letter names. But I'm just saying. You see what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
That's constantly a topic between some of my erotica writer friends, and we always say, well, if you get a big name, they won't be doing it. So it seems that if you get to selling a lot of copies, a lot of units, they'll take you out of the dungeon. It's A-okay.
You be considered mainstream.
I have a friend that her book is about BDSM. You know, BDSM is very big right now as far as erotica. And I said, why did they take her book down? And she said, I don't know, they told me it was just too explicit. And I'm like, well, okay, what do you have going on here? Is there snuffing or necrophilia? I know it's not any child stuff, because she has kids, and I just don't see her writing that. And she says, no, it's not, but they took my book down, and that was the reason that they cited. She said, I never just tried to get it back up there. So, you know, there might be a lot of books out there on Amazon, period, but you just can't find them. And there might be some other books that's not on Amazon because the authors refuse to change their work.
I understand that. Like I say, it's a whole mess, and like I say, bigger authors get their own movies and everything else, and considered mainstream. I just really don't get it. So, but moving on, who are some of your biggest influences, your writing influences?
My biggest writing influences would be, of course, Maya Angelou. When she passed, I actually cried, and I felt a very deep loss because I'm from a town that's not very far from where she was. She spent her earlier years, which was Stamps, Arkansas, and I'm from a town that's like 15 miles from there. And when you go to Stamps, Arkansas, it is exactly like she explained it. Even though she was explaining it from 1930 something. It has not changed.
Wow.
It's the same. So when I read her books when I was in junior high, throughout high school, even until I was a young adult, because I read every one of her books based on her life. So she has definitely been an influence on me. I would say that that's somebody that really showed me how somebody, you're supposed to write a book of fiction. Richard Wright, James Baldwin, who else? Walter Mosley.
See, you naming a lot of my influences. We got a lot of stuff in common.
Monroe, Carl Weber, Dora Neale Hurston, definitely. So like everybody that's like what you would call one of the great American black classic writing people would be one of my influences.
Okay. Now, what are some of the other things you get into besides, writing erotica?
I'm pretty much bland.
No, not you. No, you're not bland.
Well, I don't go out and I don't party. You're never going to go to my Facebook and see me posting pictures of me drunk.
Oh, no.
Or me posting bottles or anything. What do I do besides writing? I'm a big music fan. I like to go on short day trips, just like around my area. That's like so fun to me. Because you don't have to drive too far and get all tired and everything. You don't have to get a room.
Right.
I also...
Well, I'd like to tell on you about something. I want to tell everybody a little bit about you.
Okay.
And you just like myself, you have a book talk show. In fact, I was on your show. I was very proud to be on your show. Why don't you tell me about that show? It was a very good show, by the way.
I have a book talk show called the Bonafide Literary Show. It comes on Sunday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Blog Talk Radio. After that, you can find it on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher. And it's a book talk show about books, of course, and authors. I have authors come on to talk about themselves and how they came up with their books. I would call it an expose type interview for that one. I have also had them come on to talk about diversity in books. So you might find authors on the show that are fed the diversity movement in books right now. You might find, recently I had an author on there who was a black female science fiction author. Her name is John Jeffers. I have author advice on there as well called What Every Author Should Know. I have a recommendation episode. We're coming to the close of the first season. The first episode, you were on there. It was for a discussion panel.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about some issues in black literary and the literary world as a whole on that episode. And yeah, so it's a lot of different things, but we only focus on books and authors and their books. And yeah, it's pretty insightful and entertaining. I try to keep bringing on guests that, you might not have heard from, but you need to hear from them and know about their books.
Well, I really appreciate being on your show, and I would love to come back whenever you're ready to have me. So it was a pretty good show, and I catch it every Sunday. You said the season's winding down now?
What was that?
You said the season's winding down now?
I said season 1 is coming to a close soon, and then we'll be picking up with season 2 in November. But season 1 is still going on right now.
Perfect.
This next week we have a professional reviewer on the site, on the show, and I suggest that every author out there listen to that episode because, authors always want reviews for their books. And so this is someone you can get the straight dope from her on what she's going to say about reviewing books.
Okay, okay. And where can we tune in again one more time?
Blog Talk Radio, Sunday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, the Bonafide Literary Show. And you can also listen to it on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher.
Perfect, perfect. And now, finally, give me the name of your website and how can all of us, including myself, get hands on some of your books?
You can get my books at LaDramaPrincess.com.
Okay. And basically, do you have any final words?
My final words are to get my books on LaDramaPrincess.com. You can always subscribe to my blog, Freaky With Me, LaDrama Princess, if you want to vet me through that first. Freaky With Me, LaDramaPrincess.wordpress.com. If you can't remember it, just type in Freaky With Me, LaDrama Princess through Google. And they will pull it up. But you can get to the blog through LaDramaPrincess.com. My final words are to get the books, enjoy a new author, keep that shit freaky. That's all I got for you.
I love it. I told you it was a great interview. I mean, like I say, she's down to earth. I love it. And she also breaks down a lot of stereotypes about what erotica is. So now when we return, we'll talk to my man, Billy Dorsey.
Press kits, manuscript editing, marketing, and more. What do you need? H.D. Campbell Productions will help you design a package you need for your project. Let us serve you with your literary or marketing needs. We do editing, press kits, book trailers, book formatting, marketing, web editing, and more. What can H.D. Campbell do for you? Log on to his website at hdcampbell.weebly.com for more information. You can email him at hdcampbell1230@gmail.com or call him at 314-265-9169 so he can set up a package for you. Check us out, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. If I knew they were sending men this time, we have to find the warhead.
Stop an international incident right from your couch or bedroom. By the Sergeant Wiseguy Chronicles series by author H.D. Campbell. Freed as American agent codename, Sergeant Wiseguy must use his powerful skills of battlefield strategy to find its Soviet nuclear warhead stolen during a time of unrest. Then read as he fights to stop a plague unleashed upon the East Coast. With each page turning, spine-tingling page, you also get the chronicles of a wise but wisecracking thorough agent. Get his view of life and the mission in the Sergeant Wiseguy series. Get both books at your favorite bookstore and at Amazon.com and other online outlets. Also available on Kindle and Nook.
Welcome back to the show. My next interview is with Billy Dorsey. And remember our first interview, he's a Grammy-winning writer, producer, everybody from 2 Chainz to Nicki Minaj to the now Grammy-winning gospel rapper Lecrae. He has a lot of credits under his belt. I'm very proud to call his brother my friend. So here's the interview. Got my man Billy Dorsey back for a second time on the Author's Corner. How you doing today?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored. How you doing, bro?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for returning and talking to me. I know you're pretty busy.
Yeah, got a few things.
Well, like I say, we like busy here. Basically, basically you're doing something. You're doing a lot of great things. Before I get into all that, how are you doing? I mean, how have you been since we last spoke?
I'm good. This guy's been opening new doors and breaking new territory. The first album hit the top 40 in 3 hours. I'm wrapping up a world tour. Just came back from Brazil not long ago, and behind that album, and now I'm on a Heart of Worship tour. So I'm traveling around the country sharing what God has done in my life and the heart, the reason why I worship Him and love Him so much. And we're also wrapping up the second album, which I'm extraordinarily excited about, called Masterpiece. So I'm doing good. Busy. I'm a little tired, but that comes with the territory.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, before I get into what you're doing now, I want to go back for a minute. For a lot of people who didn't see the first interview, briefly tell me who is Billy Dorsey, what created the Billy Dorsey that we're talking to right now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 13 years ago, I signed a recording contract to sing gospel and moved to Houston from Shreveport, Louisiana, where my parents are pastors. And long story short, the label decided they wanted to replace one of the guys in the group. I fought against it out of loyalty. They froze our contract out, and I ended up homeless on the streets of Fifth Ward because of that. And through a series of events, I came to a place where I was eating out of garbage cans and having to sleep on cardboard boxes. I cried out to God once I had become locked inside of a building that I'd gone to for safety, but it ended up becoming almost a prison of sorts. Cried out to God, asking him, why am I going through this? And the voice of the Lord spoke to me and told me that I would one day have to pay attention to everything that I was going through, that one day I would win Stellar Awards, Dove Awards, Grammy, that I'd have #1 albums and that the world would know my name for His glory. And now I've got 2 Stellar Awards, I've got 2 Dove Awards, I've got a Grammy, 4 straight #1 albums, my own album, Marathon, hit the top 40 in 3 hours. And now Pastor Joel Osteen at Lakewood is helping me to put together a movie about my life story, going from being homeless to winning a Grammy Award and traveling the world. So, add to that the fact that God's blessed me to meet a brilliant guy by the name of LaDrama, who had the #1 album in the country this past week, and worked with him for the last 3 or 4 years, producing and writing and singing with him, singing backgrounds on songs for him, and just tremendous success, and God's been faithful. That's the Billy Dorsey that you're talking to. Wow, I'm in a place where I feel like God has hit the reset button. I'm in a place where creatively we're doing the best music of our lives, and I know artists always say that, but I've got so much to draw from, so much to pull from, so many things that I've experienced over the last year and a half that, I'm in a place where now I can write whatever I feel, whatever I want, wherever I'm led. I would say the biggest thing in terms of where I am now heart-wise is I understand my position in the Christian music world. With my first album, I just wanted to do something, my team and I wanted to do something that was representative of who we are as producers and writers. But I didn't get a chance to really soak in it and make sure that it was me. And with this project, I think the aspects of me that are my personality coming out in the music, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So I'm a man who's found himself, and I'm a man who I think God has given me a second chance to get all these things right that I might not have gotten right the first time.
Okay. Now I want to backtrack for a second. We were talking about your beginnings in the music industry. You actually went through a lot in the beginning, as far as contracts and everything. Can you kind of briefly tell me your rise to where you are now as far as the music industry itself goes?
Right. Well, after I was homeless, God promised me basically that I would have a measure of success. And what I ended up doing was started working out of a recording studio in Houston once I was no longer homeless. And the owner of the studio loaded some of our music on a website called PMP Worldwide, which basically on one side you have writers and producers like us that would submit our music, and on the other side you have label executives at major record companies that pay me to sign up to go listen to these songs from established or up-and-coming songwriters. And there was a guy in Beverly Hills that worked for Jonathan Rowland who produced I.S., Jason Derulo, Sean Kingston, Kelly Clarkson, Britney Spears, people of that magnitude, that one of his A&Rs was in the back room of their studio and went through the 30 or 40,000 songs that were on that site and happened to hear one of mine. And it was a divine connection. He sent an email that I still have to this day that said, "I love your music, let's build." And within 3 months, my partner Jay Tell and I, my writing partner and I, were in Beverly Hills working on songs for T.I. and P.O.B. and we were doing songs for Nicki Minaj, just writing for megastar artists not long after me being homeless. And from there, that same guy who discovered us also introduced us to one of the producers who worked with McCrae, and that's how that whole thing happened for us.
Wow, see, like I say, that's amazing. That's nothing but God, and I love that. I truly love that. And see, people always talk about, well, the music industry is evil and all this other thing. As long as you know yourself individually and have your own personal relationship, people say, you can say what's evil all the time, but it's what you make of your experience is, because people make things good or bad. It's between your experience, and you've decided to take that on and turn your negativity into positivity, and now you're successful because of it.
That's right. Well, I mean, in all honesty, my brother, I would say that I think the music industry is evil. I do get, now that I've had a measure of success, now that I've kind of seen a little bit behind the curtain, so to speak, it is set up in a way that is not godly. It is set up in a way that is not conducive to trying to live a life that is pleasing to God. But I do think that you have the choice of how you interact with it. And,
Exactly.
For me, my big thing is I never wanted to be a preacher or to be a pastor or to be a Christian artist if I wasn't living it. And I'm still not perfect now. I still struggle with things. I still have things that God has to deal with me on and give me grace with. But at least I have the desire to live right before Him and to walk upright before Him. And I think that's why He's blessed us. But it's a dirty game.
Mm-hmm. And that, you know, and like I said, it's like, but if we have, in other words, yeah, it's a dirty game, but you've decided not to play the dirty part of the game. You decided to stay grounded, which is one of the best things around. Now, you've mentioned that you worked with Lecrae, who is currently the #1 selling gospel artist, you know, in the country right now. How does that feel?
Right. You know what? I think back to when I was first introduced to him, and they told me, hey, you know, the guy that found us in Beverly Hills said, do you want to work with this guy? He's dope. He may win a Grammy someday. And I said, yeah, cool. What kind of music does he do? And he said, gospel rap. I said, nah, I'm good. And he's like, why did you say no? I said, man, gospel rap is whack. And I had a chance to tell Lecrae and Andy Mineo and all those guys the story backstage at the Gravity album release party. The album won the Grammy before they did an album release party in Houston. And I got to tell them this backstage. The Christian rap that I had been exposed to earlier in my career, before I came back to the Lord, was so whack that when I first heard about Lecrae, I hadn't heard his music, and I did not want to work with him because I didn't want to be associated with anything that I felt was subpar quality. But looking at it now and seeing how, you know, granted, he's making music that is industry quality, but it's saying something. It has a tremendous impact on the culture. And seeing how God is using him, man, it's exciting. It's surreal in some aspects. We have a lot of conversations amongst us where we're talking about just 5 years ago where we were, and looking at everything that God has done now, and it's kind of hard even for us to believe. So it's an incredible feeling.
See, I love that most definitely. So are you writing for him? Are you producing all of the above, or?
Well, what I did was my team was Reginald for his album Anomaly. We submitted 3 songs that we've done with the Christian rock band Need to Breathe that he wanted to work with for the album. And he picked 2 of the songs from what I understand, but then they scrapped the album and started all the way over. And by the time his A&R Joseph reached out to me for more music, I was on tour. Mm-hmm. So we're not on Anomaly. We didn't do any work. We worked with him on the last 3 albums. He and Andy Mineo on the last 3 albums and mixtapes, but we're not on Anomaly. I'm just helping to promote it on my end just because that's family, and I'm excited at what God's doing. But for my album, the song that he's going to be doing with us on my project, we produced it and wrote the song that he's going to be featured on.
Okay. Now, before we get back to you, is there anyone else that you've worked with recently?
I'm trying to think of people that you may know.
You can name people we don't know. Yeah. You know, we may or may not know.
Anybody that's familiar with Lakewood Church, I'm producing, along with Aaron Lindsay, producing Deidre Crawford's solo album. She's from Anointed, the Gospel with Anointed. She and her brother.
You know what? And see, you talk about people I don't know. The Anointed is one of my favorite. I still got like their first 3 albums. The Call is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Gotcha. I'm gonna make sure I tell you said that.
All right. Now, in fact, if you can, in fact, look. I'm trying not to be a crazy fan here, but if you can tell her that I would love to meet her, that would be so awesome. Seriously.
I'll shoot her a text as soon as I get off the phone with you.
Thank you.
And her husband Mark.
No, I would love to meet them both because that's just wonderful. Thank you.
They're just phenomenal. And I love them both dearly. And Deidre is one of those people that, although she's accomplished so much, you would never know it because she's the most humble, sweetest, genuine-hearted person I've ever met.
Oh, I'll bet.
Her music, her solo album is going to blow people away.
Oh, she has a solo album coming out?
Yeah, I'm producing myself, my team, and Aaron Lindsay, who produces with Israel. We're producing her solo album.
You better tell me about this, man. You better tell me. No, just kidding.
Well, I don't know if I can release the name
Well, no, you don't have to release the name or anything right
I
now.
will say that while she's got music that fits our Lakewood foundation,
Mm-hmm.
some of the stuff that she's doing on this project musically is like R&B. I mean, it's still all God-given glory. I mean, it's still gospel, but musically, some of it is R&B pop, some of it is rocked out, some of it is. I mean, Deja is showing people side to her that they never got from Anointed, and if you come to Lakewood every Sunday or watch this on TV, you would never know that she has. Her album is incredible.
Wow, see, that's
Bro, I'm
wonderful.
telling you, her album is incredible.
You simply tell me I won't know these people that you're working with. Shame on you. See, they'll be tripping already. I was having fun doing the interview. This interview's over. No, I'm just kidding. All right. All right. Now we're gonna get back to you. Now I'm done being a crazy fanboy. All right. So you said that we spoke earlier. You're working on a new album right now.
Right. Yeah, finishing up my second album called Masterpiece. And what we set out to do with Marathon, we were offered, and I don't know if I got to share this with you before, but I was the first Christian artist offered $1 million deal with Def Jam to release my first album, Marathon.
Right.
And I turned it down. Some reasons you and I have to discuss off air.
Right, that's fine.
But long story short, I got to see the negative side of the music industry very quickly, and I'm blessed to have seen it before I signed the deal for that. So we released it independently, but we did it under a rush timeline to try to meet the Def Jam deadline. So although I'm proud of the album, and I think we did some incredible music, I didn't get a chance to make sure that it was me. You know, it's just a body of great work, but I didn't get to make sure that it was who I am or indicative of who I want to represent myself as an artist.
Right.
With this album, Masterpiece, you know, I've been through so much, and you know, I've been through a divorce, I've been through, now I've traveled the world on tour. I've had the opportunity to experience tremendous success in the music industry. So I have a different perspective, but I also most importantly had the opportunity to take the time to make sure the songs are me. And this album, Masterpiece, I wanted it to be, and I was praying about it being the most honest Christian album that I've ever heard. And so far it's shaping up to be that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what are your projections for this album?
We hit the top 40 in 3 hours with Marathon, and that was with no real promotion. That was just on the strength of, God just giving us favor. With this album, we've got the opportunity to do a marketing campaign. We've got Lecrae and Reach Records support. We've got Lakewood support from the beginning of the project. I'm thinking that we're going to have a #1 project. I'm speaking that by faith now. This first single, Give You Jesus, like I shared with you offline, I let maybe 10 or 11 industry execs, I'm talking people that have platinum records, I'm talking people that have had #1s of their own, listen to that song, and every one of them has gone crazy, and I'm not exaggerating at all. Just, you know, the song is about, imagine a love song from a guy that's courting a girl, but the twist is that she's sold out for God, that she's maintaining her purity, that she has integrity in her walk, that she's a real woman of God. And he's saying to her that if I want you to be mine, the best thing that I can give you is my heart sold out for God. I can give you Jesus. I can buy you candy or flowers. We can talk on the phone for hours, but if I'm trying to make you mine for life, then it's only right that I give you Jesus. And the song is so huge, man. I think it has the potential to be an anthem. When I think it's going to happen, and whenever I say this, my team always starts laughing. I think Christian women the world over are going to hear that song, and whenever a guy tries to date them, they're going to be like, you want to date me? You're going to have to give me Jesus.
You know what? I'll tell you what. With the way women are these days, and if you say it, it's going to be the anthem. Especially,
we're about to get back started filming the movie, which is right now ostensibly called Marathon. The one that Pastor Joel and Lakewood have been supporting about my life story. And other than that, just touring. I'll be in Atlanta next week, October 2nd. I've got a big concert there at Mount Perrin Church for Rescue to Restore, which is to combat sex trafficking. And I'll be touring through the spring until the album drops. So just touring, the movie, and getting Masterpiece done. That's pretty much it for me right now.
That's cool. Actually, I was going to ask, I'm glad you brought that up about the program against sex trafficking. I was going to ask, were you involved in anything else besides music or anything media-wise? So
definitely.
So,
definitely. Anything with homelessness, because you know my testimony. So anything, in any city that I travel to, I always make it a point to connect with the local homeless shelters, the homeless missions there, and serve however I can. I don't do it in some big official capacity as an artist, but I go and serve, give my time and my talent or whatever I can do to be a blessing. And certainly with Wellspring Living and Rescue to Restore, I am going to be working with them intimately as it relates to combating sex trafficking. I have 3 daughters, and if I can make the world better for them and for their peers by me serving them in that capacity, then I'm going to do it.
One thing I do admire about you, and actually, you actually just said it and confirmed basically my suspicions about it. And this isn't just a cliche when I say you're down to earth. You're down to earth to where it's like you're walking to a place. I'm not Billy Dorsey artist. I'm just Billy. I'm just here to help. What can I do to help? You're not saying, hey, I won Grammys. I've done this. I've done that. So in other words, you're not. One of my biggest pet peeves in the industry is, and I know that there are humble people in the industry, but I know there are not so humble people in the industry who will just go to, let's say, a Habitat for Humanity home in a 3-piece suit and hold a paintbrush just for the camera. You're not one of those guys. You see what I'm saying?
I got you. Well, I mean, bro, if we're going to be 100% honest, as we always are, I understand that me being focused on me ended me up homeless in Fifth Ward. And I'm only where I am because I said, God, not my will, but your will be done. It's not about me. And when you understand that, how can you be arrogant?
Exactly.
I know where God has brought me from. Vividly, I remember everything that I endured. And I believe that God allowed me to go through that before making me successful so that I would always remember that it was him that did it and not me.
And this is why I love talking to you about because this is the problem. If I look at you and I've been hitting you up for like 2 weeks saying we need to do an interview, and all it was is just a matter of catching each other. I didn't have to have my people talk to your people, and because I know who your sister-in-law is, so I didn't have to go through her. And but in all seriousness though, it's just refreshing to talk to someone. It's like, cause see, I can tout your talents all day, Grammy winning, still award winning and all this, but this is just me and you talking, and that's one thing I do love about it. And there's nothing wrong with promoting yourself, but there's also a thing, like you said, just staying humble as well.
That's right.
So I really admire talking to you. So how can we get in contact with you and buy your albums and everything?
I mean, Marathon is available on iTunes, Amazon.com. You can probably go to your cell phone carrier and get it. I have a Pandora channel, and I think there's links to buy the music through that as well. My website is BillyDorsey.com. If people want to buy the limited physical copies of the album, they can do that and have it shipped to them. That's pretty much it.
All right.
Pretty much it.
All right. And also, too, do you have any final words for anyone? It could be anyone who would want to be a part of the industry, part of the ministry, or both. It could be anything.
Yeah, I would say something that I put on Facebook yesterday. If you are doing this, whether it's the music, especially as a Christian artist, if you're doing this, or even a young preacher, because I'm a pastor before I'm a musician. If you are doing this because you want to be seen, or you want to be heard, or because you want somebody to elevate you, you're doing it for the wrong reason. The only reason why we should be doing this is for God to be glorified. If he chooses to bless you to become successful in man's eyes, then that's up to him. If he chooses to bless you to become financially viable, then that's up to him. But if you're doing this for the ministry, do it for the ministry. Give it, give what you give from your heart. Give the time that you give from your heart. Give your giftings from your heart. Do it because you want to see God's name made great. You want him to be glorified. If you do that, the Bible says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. There are too many young people that I see that are chasing this because they want the desires. They're not trying to delight. Delight yourself in him first and watch him move.
I love that. I want to thank you very much. Wow, what an interview. What an interview. I love always talking to this brother. And I wouldn't met him without his sister-in-law on vacation, Dorsey. So big shout out to her, who also does some of my advice segments as well. Speaking of advice segments, when we come back, I'm going to have another advice segment with my friend Shonell Bacon.
What is HD Campbell Production, you ask? It's a collective of editing services, books, promotions, and more. Find out more about these services in addition to shows and columns
at www.hdcampbell3.net. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit.
Are we getting any closer, Mark?
Before his book, Murder by Execution, is released, get to know investigative reporter Mark Alexander in his first two books by author H.D. Campbell. Late Murder at 10. Find the murder of news anchor killed on the air. Start, the virtual killer. Track down a very dangerous cyber serial killer before the body count rises. Get both books at your favorite bookstore at Amazon.com and other online outlets. Also available on Kindle and Nook.
Hey there, everyone. This is author, editor, and educator Shonell Bacon. Today, I'd like to give you an editing tip. You know, we always tell writers to make sure that each story is professionally edited, but I think it's equally important that each writer is a fairly competent self-editor. And a lot of times when people think about editing, they think about starting at page 1 and reading and editing through till the end. What I like to do is make passes through my work. So for example, I might do one edit pass just looking at dialogue to make sure dialogue is revealing character as opposed to just telling stuff to the reader. Another pass I like to do is character development to make sure that all my characters are fully fleshed out, realistic. I also like to make passes for main plot and subplots. But one that I want to talk about for a couple seconds is chapter and scene developments. It's something that I often tell my editing clients. You want to make sure that your beginnings and your endings of chapters and scenes do something, work for your reader, particularly the endings. So one edit pass you can do is for scene and chapter endings to make sure you end them on cliffhangers, if you will, because you want to propel and compel your reader to keep reading. And if you end a scene in a way that doesn't do anything for the main plot or any of the subplots, that just finishes a conversation, for example, as opposed to make the reader wonder what's going to happen next, then you fail slightly as a writer. So one edit that I definitely suggest is to look at your endings of your chapters and of your scenes to make sure you pack a punch. If you have issues with that, you might look at TV shows because endings of scenes before they cut to commercial always have that, oh, I can't believe they went to commercial. And you know, you've had at least one time that moment where you just need to know what happens and you're sitting there waiting for commercials to end. You want your reader to have that same feeling when they're reading your story. I hope this helps. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Wow, it's no wonder why this woman's my friend. She gives out great advice, and you can just hear it over and over. I love it. And like I say, she's a fellow sci-fi nerd. She's a great person. So you'll be hearing more from her this season. She'll be doing a lot more advice. So when we return, I'll have a final thought and a couple of more announcements.
Just who is author H.D. Campbell, you ask? He's the multi-genre author you have yet to get to know. Once you open his books, you can have a romance, get wrapped up on a world of mystery and suspense, or you can go on a journey to stop an international incident. Log on to his new personal page at hdcampbell.weebly.com and look for it in the More section. Check out his latest blog tours, book signings, release dates, and more. Then get updates from his author, H.D. Campbell's Facebook page for the most latest. Get to know H.D. Campbell and let your writing fill your spirit. Stay away from me, you freak! Are we getting any closer, Mark?
Before his book, Murder by Execution, is released, get to know investigative reporter Mark Alexander in his first two books by author H.D. Campbell. Late Murder at 10. Find the murder of news anchor killed on the air. Start the virtual killer. Track down a very dangerous cyber serial killer before the body count rises. Get both books at your favorite bookstore at Amazon.com and other online outlets. Also available on Kindle and Nook.
Welcome back to the show. We had a wonderful show, 2 awesome interviews, and I want to thank you, my viewers, for tuning in every episode to see these amazing interviews. I also want to take a moment to thank you all for patience. It's been a really, really rough summer. During the move, we had a few other changes, but we're back. H.D. Campbell Productions is booming, still doing well. You can find out more about us at hdcampbell.weebly.com, or you can also go to my new Facebook personal page at author H.D. Campbell. I also have a lot of Twitter and other things, which I'll go into later. And also, like I said, we'll be also doing locations from different locations. We'll probably be doing a few different things here and there. So, other than that, peace, let your writing fuel your spirit, and as always, God bless.